I am lost. I am in a break in life. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing it. But we're gonna see how this goes and I guess go from there. I today would like to do a video about why Street Urchin Adventures exists. We're gonna hope that that stays there. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I want this to be a form of my podcast, if you will. I'd like to do something once a week or once a month that would be able to be talkative and be able to talk about the random things in life and the random things that I come up with, that any of my friends come up with. But I also want this to be my start of something that is consistent. And that's what this month's going to be for me, is starting to do something consistent. I kind of took a break because my brother came and visited and got off the wheel of go ahead and posting. Just know, I didn't start this channel because I've got my life together. I am quite opposite, in fact, of having anything together. And we're just seeing where things go because I want to try stuff. I want to try new things and I want to do things that are going to encourage me to step out of my comfort zone and do the things that I want to do, no matter how difficult they are. I figure that it's going to be an adjustment and it's going to be a time to be able to figure out how to do this. But I'm also weirded out because I'm just talking to my camera and nobody else. So I'm going to pretend I'm talking to my siblings and pretend that I'm talking to a group of people, and hopefully one day I will be talking to a group of people. Right now I'm just empty space on the internet. So with that, let me start with an introduction. Who am I? My name is Tuli. I am 28 and live in a school bus. Unusual for many people, but I built out a school bus and I live on my best friend's property, and I'm just trying to live my life the way that I want to live it. Luckily, right now, it's rent-free and I can kind of do what I want to do. And it's given me the ability to do what I did in the past couple months. A couple months ago, I quit my job because I had spent 5 years at a job that, unfortunately for me, flashed in a blink of an eye. I don't remember very much of it, and the job was toxic, and they expected us to continue and do too much work that we weren't getting enough assistance on. They weren't giving enough hours, and they essentially worked the team to the ground as much as you possibly could, and I was the lead of the team. I was the manager, and I got to a point where I was pouring more time into the job than I was ever at home. I stopped being able to build the school bus because I couldn't anymore. I had no time. I would get home, eat, and then go to bed and do it all over again. And my days off were exactly that. I would literally either sleep my day off or I'd wind up at the job again, because I was the one in charge. I was the one that if somebody called out, I was the one that had to take care of it. And it was taxing. And the job didn't see this as an issue. They wouldn't let us hire extra people. They wouldn't give us any extra hours. And as I was a salaried employee, I didn't get overtime. I didn't get anything that I should have gotten, which was very unfortunate. So, I decided to leave, and it was one of the best things I've ever done. I am still slightly within that idea of depression and trying to figure out what I want to do and how I want to do it. But that's, comes with life. It comes with trying to figure out where you're at and what you're doing and how you want to do it. And I'm working through it. And part of me working through it is starting to do the things that I want. And that is this. That is doing YouTube. That is trying to post and going out on adventures. And I'd like to do more of a podcast type situation, and I'd like to do a travel type situation. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. This is not something that I wanted to just suddenly wake up and do. This is not something that on a whim I'm trying to do. This is just something that I want to do. I enjoy sharing videos. I enjoy sharing, my bus build. I have that on a separate account, and I think I'm going to go ahead and post those and try to pull them over to this account because, quite honestly, I think they're cool videos, and I think that it's nice to have, and I'd like to have them on this account as well. I'd like to continue to build on this account as well and get some things situated because I've got, half of the bus built, and the other half I'd like to finish, and I'd like to share, and I'd like to have a community of people that support that and see that and want to follow it. So now, who am I? At heart, I'm a photographer. I enjoy photography. It's one of the things that I credit to saving my life. I mean, I love putting my ideas not down on paper, but taking photos. And I love being creative in that retrospect. I love using Photoshop, and I love making weird fairy type things. And, I haven't done that in years, and I'd like to start doing it again. I don't know if I'll be sharing that here, but I would like to start doing photos of people. I'd like to be able to do what my hobby is and something that brings me joy and put it out into the world and see how it goes. I very much like doing landscape photography and all sorts of stuff like that. So we're going to aim towards that. Now, why am I doing YouTube? I'm doing YouTube because I want a community. I want and thrive with a community. I feel as though one of the things that I always try to do, and I don't know if it's because I'm not quite an extrovert, more of an ambivert, I very much just want to have a community of people that can support each other and talk to each other and make it so that everybody has somebody to go to. I don't know what that looks like. I've thought about all of the avenues, and maybe one day I'll do a Patreon, and one day I'll have some sort of community going. But one of the things that I enjoy is having a community of people, and a community of people helping and supporting others. And whether that's just a comment, I don't know if you heard that, that's my dog. I want a community of people that are able to support each other, because I feel like that's missing from my life. And I'm always that person that creates that community. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to do that. And I guess this is one of my ways of doing it. So with that said, what is Street Urchin Adventures? What is the space for me and my friends? And really that space is creating a community, creating it so that I can have a community of people and they can have a community of people and we can share our adventures. Personally, I feel like it's wonderful to be able to share things and be able to put them out in the world, even for people that may not be able to do those things. So, for example, not everybody can climb a mountain. Not everybody knows how to go for a hike. I'd like to be that person that, can sit there and show you, you're able to go on these things. You're able to go on these adventures. And if you can't physically go on those, I'd like to take you along to be able to give you an experience that you may never experience in your life. And that's one of the things that for me, YouTube is very important in today's society, because it lets you see the world without having to worry about the fact that, you can't get out of bed and you can't do this and you can't do that, whether it's a physical thing or a mental thing. I feel as though it's important to do that. Now, why are we named Street Urchins? Part of it came from Kristen's mom. You've seen her in a couple videos. Her mom one day decided to call me specifically, a street urchin, because I have tattoos and I have piercings, and apparently I am not highly educated, which I argue anybody can be highly educated without college. I have an associate's degree in environmental science, and I read and educate myself in more manners than anybody that's probably ever gone to college has. They've all studied what they're studying, and I study everything. Welcome to my life. I have ADHD. Street urchins literally came from her mom in an argument, who called me a street urchin and all of her friends street urchins, and that we weren't worth our time and that we weren't the people that she thought we were. I feel as though I've proven her mom slightly wrong on that a couple times now. But yeah, I feel as though street urchins is a suiting name for us because, quite honestly, we are a ragtag bunch of people that get along, and, you know, we do have piercings and tattoos, and whether we're highly educated or not, I think that street urchins is an entertaining name, and I'm gonna live by it because, quite honestly, there's nothing like giving power to somebody who wants to talk down to you. And quite honestly, I love that. I love the name street urchin. I do live in a school bus, and it works out, I guess. So what am I planning on doing on this channel? This is, to me, one important part, especially for you guys. So what can you expect to see here? First thing is travel. I very much want to travel. I very much want to go places. Sometimes those places won't be very far. Sometimes those places will be IKEA. Some places, they just won't make sense. But other times I really want to go and, you know, go hiking and go camping. And I want to go to places in the North Carolina, South Carolina area that I haven't been. And quite honestly, I haven't been very many places. I'm from Connecticut originally. I moved down here about 5.5 years ago, and I have gone nowhere, unfortunately. My job just didn't allow me to go places. And, you know, every time I wanted to, I literally was out in the woods hunting. And I got a phone call from my job, and it told me, you know, hey, so-and-so's out, you know, so we need coverage. I'm that person that did it. I have literally left the state, and I had to come back out of the state back into the state and cover a shift. So the last 5 years, I haven't done anything, gone anywhere, seen anything. Quite honestly, I barely know what's here. So we're kind of going based off of whatever I see on TikTok or social media, and kind of looking things up to see where I can go and what I can do. And, you know, my goal is to travel. So it might be, you know, spend a weekend in the woods. It might be to go to the zoo and, you know, go to any other events that happen in the area. I'd like to take all of my friends along and go places, but if their work schedules don't align, I'm going to start going by myself, and you'll see a lot more of my face in videos, and they are going to be more of this type of video. You know, we started off with a GoPro. I'll still use it, and I'll still give it to Emma. She loves videoing. But I do want to use this camera and, you know, my photography background to be able to make more videos that are a little bit more cinematographic and, you know, pretty type videos, but also do vlog type videos where you can follow us along and do all of that. With that said, if you have anywhere within North Carolina or South Carolina area, Lower Virginia, anything with the surrounding states, please let me know. I would love to go places. I'd love to be told and recommended to go places. And I personally, as I go along, I'd love for people to sit there and say, oh, hey, you like this? Let's go. You should go here. But yeah, that's what I want for that with the travel section. Now, another thing that I'd like to do is weight loss. I last year decided that I was going to lose weight. I lost about 50 pounds. I was 250 pounds. I got down to 200. And unfortunately, with my job and everything that had happened, I ended up gaining about 20 pounds back. So I've lost 30 pounds in total and gained that 20 back. But I'd like to, by June, be about 180. I have a concert that I want to go to that I feel like I could effectively get to 180 within 6 months. I did basically lose about 50 pounds within 8 months. So, 180 seems like a logical goal that I can do, and I'm hopeful for it. I do want to post videos on here about weight loss, and I do want to post videos that are specifically weight loss, so I don't want to have them interlooped into any of the other videos. I'm contemplating whether I'm going to do a podcast type video or if I'm going to do like workout type videos. We'll see. But I want to take you to the gym with me. I want you to see the struggles and the food and the this and the that. I want it to be as raw and real as possible. I want for you to be able to follow along. I'd love for the comments to be supportive of each other. Yeah. Let me know how much weight you've lost or how you did it, and any ideas that you can help me out with. I've thought about, if you've ever heard of 75 Hard, I've thought about doing that. I did do it last year, and that was actually what helped me lose probably about 20 pounds. And I feel as though that might help me get into a nice routine, especially with posting and doing the things that I want to do. I recently started to look into getting a job because I am to the point where I do either need a job or just mentally need something to go do. But I feel as though with 75 Hard, I might be able to use that as a strategy to get me into a routine to ensure that I can, continue to do the things that I want to do. Very important to me altogether. So, but that's a thought on that. I'd like to do either a few videos a month on weight loss or, have something within that. But that is an overarching goal that I'd like to do. Weight loss is very important for me. I also feel like having weight loss online helps, and being able to post it and create a community will be nice. One of the things that helped me this past 50 pounds to lose weight was having a community. I did 75 Hard. On 75 Hard, you're not supposed to drink. So I didn't drink. I had friends that stopped drinking. There were 1 or 2 occasions that they turned around and they apologized and was like, I'm going to a festival. I'm going to drink a little bit. And it's like, okay, girlie, like I didn't ask you to drink, but I love the support. I love the effort that you put into it. And honestly, having that community and having those people that were supportive, even if it was just not drinking, that was helpful. And I had a friend that, she started to go to the gym with me every day, and she wasn't doing 75 Hard, but she was losing weight because she was going to the gym with me every day. And, so she was getting healthier while I got healthier. And it was nice to have that community of people and the community that, sat there and supported me. My 76th day, because I told him I can't celebrate my 75th. The 76th day, one of my friends got every single one of my friends in the area together, and we went out for a nice meal. They bought me a drink, like all of the above, and it was a nice celebratory thing. So, it's one of those of having that community and having people that support you is important. And I realize that not everybody has that around them. So this is me trying to create a community for others, because that is what I do in life. I support and help others, and I thrive on that. And I would love to have a community of people that, we can go in and we can all talk about what our struggles are and what we had an issue with this week, emotional, physical, anything, So that is important for me within the weight loss. All right. The last thing that I want this channel to be, not technically last, this is the last standpoint, if you will. I would like to do some sort of podcasting, and I'm going to figure out a way to do it, and I'm going to figure out a setup and a situation and everything. And my honest to God answer of what the podcast will be is the most chaotically ADHD conversation you could ever have. I am ADHD with no meds, no anything. I am raw dog in life with the ADHDs. Coda. Anyways, I am full on ADHD. I am chaotically everywhere in all conversations and thrive on listening to people with ADHD. So I kind of want that to be in a podcast as well, because quite honestly, if I thrive listening to people with ADHD, I feel like others might, whether you're listening to me while you're cleaning your house or you're listening to me while you're, laying down, getting ready for bed, anything and everything could be possible for the idea of, listening. The topics, yeah, that's just going to be ADHD, hon. All of it. I'd like to talk about travel. I'd like to talk about the adventures that we go on. I'd like to basically recap the week. If we had a video post on Saturday, I'd like for, the podcast day to be, a recap of what the video was. If we went somewhere, it's let's talk about this, have a little recap situation going on. I want it to be a weight loss struggle situation as well. I'd like to be open and honest, and I'd like to use part of the podcast as a, let me communicate what I had issues with this week. Little TMI for guys, but that does include talking about hormones and when my period is and, how that affects weight loss and weight gain, because a lot of people don't realize that and a lot of people don't understand that. I personally feel like it's things that as females we should talk about, because the more normalized it becomes, the more understanding it becomes, and the more it makes sense for individuals that may not have realized that, you gain about 5 to 10 pounds on your period, and then you can lose that in like 2 seconds because it's hormones, it's water weight, it's all of the above. So being able to talk about those struggles and take that weight loss and put it into a talking point and have people be able to listen to it and have a conversation about it, I feel like it's very important. I'd like to talk about work issues, society. I have worked retail for 10 years and I have so much information and basically have so many rants and so many things and stories that I could go on about and talk about. And, I know that, I'd like to have Kristen and Emma and Marie on the podcast. And, I don't know how we're going to do that in the bus, or if we're going to wind up having to go outside or what, but we'll figure something out, because I can fit 2 people on this couch comfortably. 3 if we're trying. They'll need nice squished in. But I feel as though having a work conversation and, the struggles of work is connecting to the community of people and the people that are listening. And I feel like it's important to get out your rant so that that you're not the only one that had that type of situation happen, Because unfortunately, we live in a society that you have to get paid, which means you have to work and you have to deal with people. I even said it to Marie the other day, unfortunately, she works with the public. And when you work with the public, even if you didn't work with the public, quite honestly, you still have to deal with people and you still have to deal with dumb people. So it's very unfortunate sometimes, but you get good stories out of it. So another thing that I'd like to do is books. I am an avid reader and I enjoy reading and I enjoy sharing my books with everybody. I feel as though I think it might be fun to talk about some of my books and some of the things that I read, because some of the things that I read aren't for everyone. And I have found that with Kristen, and I think it is entertaining to see her reaction to them. And it might be entertaining for you guys to see her reaction to them. To some people, the books that I read are fairly normal, and to some they're not. And granted, I read all genres, all everything, but the books that I've been reading within the past, 6 months are, more dark romance type things. But it's one of those it's entertaining to see people's reactions to them, if you will. So, this one's a possibility, and it's dependent on the comfortability and the communication that I get from people. But I'd like to talk about struggles specifically as a woman. I'm not on the standpoint of women are meant to be in the house cooking and doing nothing. I'm on the standpoint of you can do as much as anybody else can do, and we're going to thrive off of that. One of the things that I'd like to talk about is to realize that, not just women, but men, need somebody to talk to. And I feel as though having a conversation about the things that might be, weird, random things and questionable things that not everybody talks about, is fun to have a conversation about because it's opening a line of communication. So, I do plan on having many friends on the podcast, aka the few that I have. I want to talk about all sorts of different things. I want different opinions on the things we talk about. I want different outlooks, whether it's an age outlook, whether it's a race outlook, whether it's a gender outlook, like all of the above. I want as much clear communication from everybody as possible. I want, for it to be the most rounded type of opinionated podcast possible. But, it's one of those things of I very much want to have my friends on so that we can all have differing opinions and have a conversation about it. And, we won't have different opinions on everything, but there will be a lot of things that we all see things differently, or we can add something to the way that somebody looks at it. And we can add something to, our opinions of each other and the things that are going on. But yeah, so that's what this channel is about. That's what I'd like for it to be about. I would very much love for your input if you've made it this far. I'd love for you to let me know, are there places that you want to travel to that, would be of suggest to me, or places you've been that would be great for me to travel to. I'd love for your input on weight loss. If you have any suggested methods that have worked, my goal for now is just going to be the calorie deficit and working out. So if you have any suggestions, let me know, and maybe I'll try them out. I'd love your opinion on all sorts of things. And, if you have a comment or something that you'd like me to talk about, I'll talk about it. I'm very much an open book. I'm very much one of those people that, I'm not scared to talk about anything at all. So, with that said, if this sounds interesting to you, the channel in general sounds interesting, the things that I'll be doing, and the idea of ADHD on YouTube, I guess, follow my journey, follow my channel, and follow what I'm doing. And, as long as you're good with, ADHD, chaos, and a little bit of iced coffee, that would be what we are and where we're at. So follow along and let us know what you think and what you think we should do. Thanks.